I'm welcoming Courtney Luna to the show today. And Courtney has a fantastic personality. She's so cute. She's so much fun. She's a stay-at-home mom that started eating a carnivore diet to lose weight. And what happened is not only did she lose weight, but she also started seeing improvement in her mental health, particularly anxiety. So I wanted to have her on the show to talk about that. And I'm so grateful to Courtney that she's opened up about that. If you don't follow Courtney on social media, she's very popular in the carnivore community. You should follow her if you're interested in what to eat or what to cook on a carnivore diet, because Courtney was once a chef. And so she's always showing demos of cooking and what she eats on a carnivore diet, which keeps it really interesting. And she has a new cookbook that's coming out. So you want to check that out if you're interested in eating a carnivore diet. For those of you who don't know, I ate a carnivore diet for 2.5 years. I personally know what it can do for mental clarity. Well, and of course, for so many things improved for me on a carnivore diet. So I think it's a really helpful healing tool, really helpful way of eating. Some people stay on a carnivore diet. They see so much improvement that they just keep eating that way. And what carnivore means, everybody maybe has a different definition. For us, for most of us that eat a carnivore diet, it means that we only eat things from an animal. So animal food sources. Some people add in some plants like I have done. So the more I started studying quantum health and mitochondrial health, the more I started thinking about what else I might want to add back to my diet. So I have other videos on that. That's not what this episode is about, but I just wanted you to know my personal experience with that. I have interviewed so many people now that have improved their mental health on a carnivore diet. So anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, all kinds of things, OCD, things that you might not think are even related to your food. So I'm grateful to Courtney to come on the show and talk about something so personal as your mental health and your anxiety. And I hope you guys enjoy the show as much as I enjoyed talking to Courtney. Courtney, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, I so loved meeting you in person. You're absolutely adorable. So you have this great energy. You're so fun. And then in person, I was like, that was just very solidified. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it was great to meet you in person.
Awesome. Thank you. And you too. You have such like I don't know, someone even said like mama bear energy where it just feels like you're just talking to you. It feels like you're being hugged.
Oh, well, that's sweet. But yeah, I hear the mama bear thing. I'm going to take that as a compliment. And
It is. You
oh,
feel like the love around you. You feel like,
uh,
like just being nurtured.
yeah.
Not saying that you're old enough to be my mom at all. It's
I
just you're very
know, no, I
comforting to be
appreciate
around.
that. Yeah, and you were actually sick when we met, and so I was feeling nurturing towards you. I was like, "Oh, I hate that for you that you're all the way over here and you're sick." But you look fantastic. Everything looks like you're all healed up and doing well.
Thank you. Yeah, we're doing okay. We're plugging along.
Okay, okay. So I wanted to talk about carnivore and mental health because that is one of my favorite things to talk about. I feel like so many people, we could talk about any part of your journey that would be helpful, but I just think that the fact that you're so open about all the ways that you have been helped by eating an animal based meat diet is something that I think people don't really understand or recognize. And I think most people are interested in your weight loss. And they're like, oh, wow. And it's just so fun to watch you like stuff yourself in the jeans, that part, that before and after. You're just so funny, fun to watch. And how amazing you look now. But I want to talk about the mental part of it as well.
Yeah, it's, one of my favorite things to talk about because I didn't actually know that this was going to be a benefit going into it.
Mm.
And it's because I wasn't really following many influencers, but for me, I got started because I was fat and I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. So I've always equated, I guess, weight loss to being healthy. 25 years of yo-yo dieting. I never once was like thinking of it from like a health perspective. I think I always thought, oh, once I get to my goal weight, then I'm healthy. So I never thought that my mental health struggles had anything to do with what I was eating. No one really asked me. I had my OB was the one that prescribed it, but I also was seeing a therapist and she's recommended me, being on something, but no one got to the root of it. Like they were just like, oh, you want, well, I shouldn't say what I was just going to say, but okay, you're struggling, you're in a dark place, like then let's put you on some medication. Never once, let's look at your diet. Let's look at, lifestyle factors. Like it was nothing. I think a lot of it was just chalked up to postpartum depression.
Yep.
Um, when I'm sure that didn't help things, but
Right.
also, what I was doing to myself and eating definitely wasn't helping either.
Yeah. And what medication were you on? Is it Lexapro? I
I
can't
was
remember.
on Zoloft.
Oh, you were on Zoloft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now not on medication?
No, so I was on a very high dose and it totally numbed me out. Like I'm a big crier, like for anything. Like a
Oh,
commercial will have me cry. Yeah. So when I was taking that, it's like I remember my husband, like we would be watching something and he'd look at me and it's like nothing, like no emotion. So I was very numbed out. So at one point, like we lowered it. I went from 100 milligrams to like 25 milligrams. And I noticed like it wasn't enough. I still wasn't feeling great, but I at least kind of felt like myself again as far as feeling emotions. So when I started, I was carnivore or I was animal based. So I did have some fruits for the first 5 weeks, but because the dosage was too low for me, I was able to notice that my mental health was shifting and I was feeling better when I wasn't expecting it at all. It was just like, oh gosh, like I don't feel as crazy. I don't feel as sad. Like I just feel really good. So that was definitely a wonderful surprise benefit for me.
and I know you're a chef and you were a chef on a yacht, which is so cool. Yeah. And what other ways how did you get into cooking and being a chef?
Yeah, I guess just that. I mean, I was in the restaurant industry, like I
Okay.
think when I turned like 18 or so, was my first restaurant. And so always just around food. And yes, I eventually got onto boats, but I was a stewardess and I always loved cooking. It was always something I did like on my days off, like when the guests weren't there and the chef
Okay.
was gone, I would play around in the kitchen. So like after a while, I'm like, I don't want to scrub toilets anymore on these boats. Like I want to cook. So I got a job where I cooked and I scrubbed toilets, but it got
Okay.
better from there. Eventually I was just the chef. So it was pretty cool.
That is really cool. Well, I was both too last week. So I was the chef and the
Yeah.
toilet scrubber on the boat. So I could relate. But I knew you were into food and you loved cooking. And so your mental health, you had two kids, feeling just not yourself, sad, chalked it up to, well, it's probably postpartum. What was your diet like at that point?
I was on and off keto and low carb
Okay.
for about 7 years.
Okay.
So I mean, at that point, I might have had some low carb moments. But I also ate a lot of crap because, after my baby, like I'm nursing. And so I had this fear of falling asleep with my baby in the middle of the night and her like, suffocating or something. So I would eat to keep me awake. And I ate a lot of Skittles and pita chips.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yes. So my diet was a mix. It was yeah, standard American for a while, but I tried to have my moments of being healthy.
Right. Okay. Got it. And then what in the world made you think carnivore sounds like a good idea?
I thought it was a crazy idea. My husband was sending me Dr. Paul Saladino's TikToks for like a month. We never talked about it. And then one day I'm like, why are you sending me these? Like, should we not be eating vegetables? I'm like, this is so weird. He's like, I don't know. I got to research it. So he goes on YouTube University and he's like, let's give it a go. So I'm like, all right, like I'm at my rock bottom. Let's give it a shot. And yeah, it's been great ever since.
Yeah, really. When did you decide to start sharing the story or your process?
Before I even started, because I was already showing up online with my
Mm.
well, my low carb keto stuff and then my 4 month bender, which led me to here. So yeah, I was already showing up online. So I was just like, oh, here's what I'm trying next. We're going to start carnivore. Here we go. Yeah, had no clue like anyone would even care because I was sharing keto recipes for a few years and like no bad comments, hardly any following. So I wasn't like prepared for what was about to come my way.
What, because you blew up. And not only did you blow up with a lot of followers that were like interested and like to watch you cook, because again, you're really entertaining. You're very fun. You're a very fun personality. So I get why people, plus you're showing people funky things to cook and ways to eat. And I think that's great. And you have a cookbook. So people should come check out the cookbook. And I can the comments, like, how do you mentally deal thank God it's helped you carnivores helped your mental health because my goodness, people are, like, come at you with the really horrible comments.
Yeah, yeah. Social media is not great for your mental health, even if you're in a good place. It still bothers me to this day, and it's been 2 years, but especially like in the beginning, it was very hard because I've never experienced that, and people are nasty. And I would cry often, to be honest. And so I'm kind of like at a place now where it's unfortunate that I have to ignore a lot of nice comments because if I read through them all, I'm going to read the bad ones. So I have just like a different approach where it's like, okay, once I post it, I'll reply to things then because it's my following. I feel like it's after the video's been out for a while is when it reaches the trolls. So I tend to not go back to a video. And just I have all notifications off because I don't accidentally want to see a comment when I'm not in the right headspace. So another thing is like, okay, if I'm going to dive into the comments, I need to get into the right headspace. I need to be prepared to read things that are going to be triggering to me and upsetting. But how insane is this? Like how crazy that people are so awful that I have to do all this inner work and, all this like self-coaching to go read comments. Like it's just absolutely insane like what these people do and like how I have to battle that. It's so weird.
Yeah, it is, but it actually I I can feel with you, like, I have to really prepare myself for comments, and I think you're so brave to continue to show up and be your adorable self and show people, and I'm super grateful that I got to know you before I got to know you on social before I met you in person, and I just think, I'm glad that you're still out there, but I can understand, and you're already got a vulnerable landscape. You've already had time where your brain was inflamed. Yes, a lot of the Skittles and pita chips and the things that didn't help you, but and also being on medication and having you just have a vulnerable landscape, right? And I don't know who doesn't at this point in our lives. But then to really protect your mental health at this point. So I wanted to find out a little bit more about how you do protect your mental health. Like, what was the shift? Like, when did you notice, like, this is really helping my mental health? What was sort of the telltale sign?
Yeah, I noticed it probably like only like within like a month.
Okay.
Um, I just felt something lift and I just
Mm.
felt different. I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, I just felt happier. And especially after a few months in of eating this way, I feel like after 3 months is when, it's even more magical than the beginning. And I just remember like, and I've talked about this with somebody once. I get the goosebumps right now. But I remember just like being in a bookstore, wandering around and just like wanting to cry because I felt so happy. And I hadn't had that in a while. And, I still have my moments. Like, I'm easily overwhelmed and overstimulated. I'm a stay-at-home mom of little kids, so it can be triggering. Um,
Yeah.
it's not like the perfect journey, but it's such a huge difference than where I was, 2+ years ago.
Right. And you're only eating carnivore at this point? Do you add anything else?
once in a while, I'll have, like, a pickle or an olive,
Yeah. Oh, that's
but it's
right.
just
I remember the
yeah.
pickle comment. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just not there's not really, like, a desire for other things.
Mhm.
Like, I've had grilled onions a couple times on a burger because I get it for my kids, but, even that just tastes so strong, it's so different. Like, I used to always eat garlic and onions, and now yeah, so for the most part, I mean, sometimes I'll have some seasonings and get wild, but I don't have anything else that like, I can't have some fruit because I just can't moderate that. I even incorporated a little bit of stevia the last few weeks, which was a horrible decision because now I'm like going through sugar cravings, like I felt like in the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's
yeah.
important for us to talk about. You and I both had to talk about didn't have to talk. We were talking about this at Meat Stock because I had whatever those puck things are, and it has a little bit of stevia, I guess, in the protein powder, and it sent me it was just a little setback, and I think these things are important. I think it's okay for us to try things and experiment, but you and I have the same issue where then the sugar cravings are back and it feels like you're back at the beginning, which is not really a setback, but it feels that way. I don't know if it feels that way to you.
Yeah, it definitely yeah, it feels like I failed a little bit, but at least I tell myself, okay, I may have gone off the rails a little bit, but I went off the rails with carnivore-ish or ketovore, whatever you want to call it. Um
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least I didn't go, like, in the carb ditch. I didn't go have, like, donuts or anything. I tried to see if I could have some flavored protein powder, like, wow, like, how wild does that seem, you know? But, yeah, it doesn't really work for me because I'm a carb addict, I'm a sugar addict, so even those sweet flavors, if it's not actual sugar, like, still totally have a hold on me, and
Mm.
I'm back on track right now, so I'm, like, literally on day 2 of not having any stevia, and I don't even like stevia. Like, I think it
I know.
has a gross aftertaste,
Same. I
but I
know.
was eating it, like, every day for a few weeks, you know,
Same.
because I'm, like, an addict to that sweet flavor. So, I just felt out of
Yeah.
control lately. So, we're back to just, regular carnivore, no
Keep it simple.
sweeteners. Yeah.
Mhm. Keeping it simple. And you have a lot of variety for somebody that, is carnivore. So it's not like it's simple, but it's also if it doesn't come from an animal, you don't eat it. And so but you also played around with, like, letting go of dairy for a second. You've played around with a lot of different versions.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do a lot of experimenting. I just think it's fun. It keeps things interesting and it also makes me realize like how much is not like totally necessary. Like I lost 55 pounds having dairy. So doing these no dairy things, I feel like it's not sustainable for me. Like I there's no way I'm going the rest of my life without having dairy. Like call me a dairy addict, that's fine, but that's just what, that's what we're going to do. So yeah, doing these little challenges, it's like, "Okay, Courtney, you don't need to do any more," and I say that every time, I'm like, "Don't let me do another one," and here I am, sardine challenge, so,
Stargene, yeah.
yeah. But it's
Yeah.
fun to, like, mix things up.
So tell me about the sardine challenge. Why is everybody doing a sardine challenge?
Well, it's a great way to, like, quickly get into ketosis,
That's
your
true.
glucose goes down,
True.
your ketones go up. It really helps you pay attention to hunger cues because you're not going to binge on sardines. I mean, maybe there's a few people out there that really love them. I tolerate them. So
Mhm.
there's no way if I'm bored, I'm not going to eat sardines. So it was kind of a nice way to be like, okay, are you sardine hungry? Like, are you really hungry or do you just want to eat pork rinds because you're bored? So, yes, I used it as a weight loss tool, but I also used it as like a reset um, and some people didn't like that. A lot of people were saying like it was disordered eating. And
Oh,
I'm a little bothered. There was actually some drama a couple days ago that is still like irritating me a little bit because I don't know. As someone who has had disordered eating in the past, mono eating can be very helpful for those with keeping it simple. Like I wouldn't
yeah.
say the lion diet is disordered eating, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. That would really yeah, I didn't see those comments luckily because that bothers me too. I think when people don't understand food addiction and they don't understand every single one of us has to navigate these things for ourselves, and food is a substance, sugar is a substance, and the way that we eat certain foods are going to trigger things in us, and every single person has to figure that out and navigate it for themselves. So, I know well, and when I was strict carnivore, I mean, all the time people were worried, so worried about my eating and that I had gone to the extreme, and like, yeah, it's interesting, and it was
Yeah, and
really
no one's oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say no one's worried when we're eating like Doritos and pizza and Oreos. Like that's okay. You have
Right,
to have moderation to be healthy.
right. I get really, really upset at the whole moderation, like, all things in moderation drives me insane because, 1, that doesn't even make sense, and some things are poisonous, and it's like, "Oh, but, a little poison is somehow fine for you?" I mean, you can do it, no judgment if that's what you wanna do, but at the same time, like, let's not call that healthy because it's in moderation. Like,
Exactly.
mm, that's
That thing bothers me too because and what I say is like, okay, so are you going to have just a little bit of heroin on the weekends, but not during the week, only on the weekends because moderation. It's yeah, why can't we say the same thing about food? It's like a rat poison. It's a slow poison. Sure, have it in moderation if you can, but if you can't moderate that stuff and you need to abstain, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean you have an unhealthy relationship with food. It just means you're aware and it's like an alcoholic, if they can't have one drink, and some of us can't just have one donut. So we, refrain from having that, yet we're in the wrong. That whole thing pisses me off too because that I gained 40 pounds in 4 months before carnivore because I was listening to the anti-diet culture stuff and all foods fit, everything in moderation. So I have a
right.
bone to pick. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, no, you can take that and shove it where the sun doesn't shine. Absolutely, because and who cares if you try something for 7 days? Like, who gives a crap? Nobody cares when people do long fasts. Like, fasting is part of religion, like, what do you care if I eat sardines for 7 days? I mean, like,
Exactly.
really, sardines are an organ. They are extremely nutrient dense. They've got a lot of yeah, it's like, it's just I wanna say, "Screw you, people," but
I think it says something more about them. Like it's
it
almost like if
always
you're judging it, like you need to do some self reflection and see like why you are speaking out this way.
yeah, and I noticed the people when I was first in it's quit drinking, the people who, even noticed that I wasn't drinking and had an issue and kept asking, like, "So you don't drink at all? Like, you don't have" like, people say, "You don't have vegetables at all? Like, none, never?" Yeah, are the people who are questioning their own issues, and because the people who aren't don't even notice and do not care what you're doing.
Mm, yeah, that's such a good point. Maybe a little cognitive dissonance. I feel like I always use that word wrong, so maybe that's not what I'm supposed to say here, but that word comes to mind.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah, there's something going on there, or even like a lack of awareness and unconscious. They know, but they don't want to know because when you're an addict. I talk about it like there was that show 24. I think I don't know if you're too young
I
for the
saw
show
some.
20 for some of it. And his daughter Kim in the show was always sitting on the bomb. And you're like, "Oh, there she is again," without knowing it. That's what it felt like when I finally owned up to the fact that I have certain food addictions, and that I really actually have to abstain from them. It was like I was sitting on this bomb the whole time and kinda knew I was in danger, but didn't realize I've been sitting on it the whole time. That's what it
Mhm.
felt like to me.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
And I think the people who are sitting on it and have some awareness that they're in danger, those are the people that are ruthless or questioning you or us.
Yeah, because they're questioning themselves or they're aware of, "Hey, I have some similar behaviors, but I'm not ready to face it yet."
Right, I'm not willing to swallow that truth because you will choke on it a little bit, I have found. And so I just appreciate that you're open to experimenting with things and saying, "I tried this, I didn't." Were you always kind of like that growing up? How was your growing up? Are you an experimenter and would try different things?
Um, that's a good question. I don't know if I was. I mean, once I was 18 in the party world. Sure, I experimented with a lot of things, but no, I felt like I just had like a normal childhood, health focused, great family. Yeah, just pretty like mellow.
Yeah, rocking along. Yeah, because I do think it's interesting that you're so open to try different things and very honest. Like
It might just be desperation to get to my goal weight, honestly, is where I feel like it's coming from. Like, let me just try something else to see if this sticks. So I don't know if that's the right mental behavior to have.
well, it definitely is motivating. I think gaining a lot of weight can be very motivating to get yourself and you just not being able to stand looking at yourself, then you've got to do something different. But for you, it feels like this is a good fit, that carnivore. Do you feel like you'll stay carnivore after you hit your goal weight? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, this is the one thing that's ever stuck. I've gained and lost 50 pounds many times, and this is the one that's like stuck the longest. I've kept it off. I've been in maintenance mode essentially for like a year, even though I'm not quite at goal. Yeah, years of yo-yo dieting, and nothing has ever made me feel like carnivore does. So I don't have any intention of going off of this way of eating because I feel like what else would I add? Like I realize I don't need vegetables, fruit, I can't moderate. So that just leaves me with meat and, maybe like the non-sweet fruits, like I mentioned, like olives
Avocado.
and pickles, maybe an avocado, but, I don't even have a desire to have that.
Mm,
And I used to have guacamole or avocado all the time on keto. And it's like my taste buds, I feel like, have changed too. And I truly just crave meat and some dairy. And I love eating this way. Like, and I am not dogmatic about it. If something is not working, I will readjust. But like I love eating this way. It doesn't get boring to me at all. So I'm good right now.
I know. Well, you're very creative in the kitchen too. It's fun to watch you like cook all kinds of funky things. I haven't tried tongue. I was like, oh wow, go for it, Courtney, with the tongue. But I think that it's fun to watch you, but it's also great to learn different things because if people are bored or feel like carnivore is going to be boring for them. And also, I'm not dogmatic either. I want people to have as much food freedom as possible, if you can. But a lot of us are healing. We're healing from something. We're in recovery from something. And what's been so surprising to me over the last several, maybe 5 years now, is how many people have benefited, their mental health has benefited from eating at least animal based, if not full on carnivore. And it shouldn't be that surprising, but it still is very surprising to me to hear it over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think a lot of people understand that. And I get comments like, "How dare you say eating this way helped your mental health?" I'm like, "Excuse me?" Like, okay, like then what is it? Yeah, I've heard a lot of wonderful success stories with people's mental health and eating this way. And like, why does that get dismissed? I mean, they say like depression is linked to inflammation of the brain, and this is like the ultimate anti-inflammatory
Inflammatory.
diet.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, why wouldn't this work?
Right. And that's the thing. And it's absolutely about inflammation. And the mental health research is actually catching up and has really understands that mental health issues, particularly around mood, anxiety, depression, these are all metabolic issues. This is all about inflammation. And when we are completely out of sync with how we are designed as part of nature. Like we're not outside, we're afraid of the sun, we're afraid of meat, we're afraid of all the things that actually help us heal. Like, yeah, we're going to have mental health problems. You're gonna have mood swings, you're gonna have anxiousness, you're gonna have depression. I mean, that's what's gonna happen. Even though I know
Exactly.
inflammation can show up anywhere in the body, it's not just in the brain. But yeah, so it's your mental clarity. That's also something that I think usually clears up. Did you have issues with, like, brain fog, or was that not part of your issue?
Yeah, I hear that a lot, mental clarity, and sometimes I just feel like my brain is not functioning. But honestly, I feel like that's because I have little kids at home and almost every night I'm getting woken up by somebody. So for me, I think it's like not always getting proper sleep. Because yeah, a lot of people, they're like, my brain is like, choo, choo, choo. I'm like, I'm not quite there yet. Maybe I still have a lot more healing to go, but I'm definitely happier and that my whole family is benefiting from that.
Which is, yeah, amazing. And have you found the blue blockers? Have you pulled those out from underneath the bed yet, Courtney? Because that's
I
important.
see them right there. Um, you know what? I'm so bad about being consistent with things. So I did like a whole week of morning sunlight
Okay.
and wearing my glasses after because I know it's not good to be on our phone in the morning, but I really try to get stuff done before like the kids wake up.
Yeah.
And then I slowly fall away from it. And I'm so bad. Like I probably should do like one of those like little habit trackers or something like here's your gold star, Courtney, because I'm so bad about sticking with these things. And I know they're important because yes, the diet is so important, but it's also all those other things that you preach, doing the inner work, getting the sunlight, all that 100% I agree with. I'm just so bad about it.
Well, you're not so bad. You have other things that are a priority right now,
Mm.
and I have a no doubt that you will get to this piece. And especially, I think that will be what pushes you to your goal weight. So that might be a little bit of motivation to like more earthing, more sunlight, and block it. It's really truly blocking the blue light when blue is not available outside. I can't tell you how helpful that has been for me. So I'm gonna just leave it there. There's no need to say you're so bad at it because look at what you have done, look at what you do on a daily basis, and you'll get to that part. I mean, you've got the blue blockers. All of us have them for a long time before we use them. I will tell
Yeah.
you that. We're like, "Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah."
Yeah, and I think I need to like maybe understand it a little bit more too. Like, cause I have the clear ones and then I have the red ones. And then I'm like, okay, so when do I wear what? And then I don't know, so I don't do them.
Well, we'll just
Um,
tell people I'll just tell you while we're telling everybody else. So, you want some of the blue light, and so clear and yellow is during the daytime. So, when there's blue light available outside is when it's light outside, you have the full spectrum of light, and that's when blue is available too. So, that is why you want some light during the day to come through, but at night you want orange and then red right before bed because the red blocks out all the blue and is going to help release melatonin. And so, because melatonin is not just a sleep hormone, it actually helps your body clean itself and do all kinds of really important things. So that's why we want to block
okay.
blue light. But that's the clear and the yellow are during the day. And then orange and red are at either before sunrise or after sunset. Does
Okay.
that
I will
make
do better at
sense?
that. And yeah, and you're right. It's not that I'm so bad about it. I'm just not prioritizing it.
Yeah.
And because you know why? I feel like I'm more of like a instant gratification person. And this is the thing with like lifting weights. It's like, okay, you lift weights, but you're not going to see the results for a while. So to me, it's like, okay, why am I wearing these glasses? What is it really doing? But you're not the first person to say that it might help with your weight loss. And so maybe I need to get my ass out there for morning sunlight. I do get sunshine. I will say there's a lot of grounding and sunshine and
Yes.
walks at the park with my kids. If I didn't have kids, I probably wouldn't be as good about it. Um, but yeah, maybe the light is the next thing for me.
I think it's the next piece. I think but you're more than halfway there, so it's not a big deal. You'll get there. And yeah, you got to push your ass outside early morning. That's just it's just
Yeah.
yeah, and or you fling open a door and like throw your head out for a little bit. I mean, you just do little bits of it as you can, but that's the piece that makes a big difference. So,
Okay.
I can't
Okay.
wait to see what happens if you decide. But really, truly, like, you're doing amazing. You're happier, you're healthier, you're outside with your kiddos. I see you in the gym a lot too. You've got a new book. Like, you're doing a lot of things.
There's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, and I think it's also like okay to like baby step your way into this. Like how crazy would it be if someone started carnivore and did this and take out the coffee and take out the like there's so many things you could do to like help better yourself, but if you do it all at once, like that might be a little crazy. So I think yes, I'm easing into a little bit more of my biohacking journey.
Yeah, and it makes sense because you're already eating in a way that your body's able to use those nutrients. So I think it'll be interesting. But it's not biohacking. You don't even have to biohack because you're already doing a lot of it naturally, which is really cool. I think you're well on your way to where
I will get there.
yeah, for sure. And I think the self-talk, like, just being really gentle and kind with ourselves, because it sounds like you do what I do, which is I'm either all in or I'm in or out, first of all. And I'm like that person that, if I don't feel well, I start doing a whole bunch of things. I'm like, "That's right, I need to get it all," and then you have no idea what is working. So baby
Mhm.
steps are actually better to do one thing at a time so you can see the difference and see what really works for you. But I mean, I can tell too that you're like, "I'm really bad at that." You're not. Like, that self-talk has gotta go.
Oh, horrible self-talk. Yeah. There's no way I would talk to somebody the way I talk to myself, that's for
I
sure.
know. Yeah. So that's the inner work that I think takes a little bit of no, it doesn't take a little bit, it takes a lot. It just takes a lot of practice and a noticing and then it's like not beating up on yourself for beating up on yourself or being critical, you know? Like, "Well,
Yep.
how do I do that if this is the way I've been forever?" Yeah.
The vicious cycle.
But if you think about how you well, not everything that you say to your children, but if you think about how you want to speak to your children, then that kinda helps too, of like, I wouldn't want to say this to anybody. So,
Yeah, that's a good point.
but this is about food. So is there anything else that you wanted to say about carnivore and food and how it's helped you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Yeah, I would just encourage anybody to just give it a shot. If you have any sort of ache or pain or, health issue, you're feeling a little sad or anxious, like give it a shot. What do you have to lose? Like knock on wood, I can't say nothing bad will happen, but like nothing bad's gonna happen in a few months anyways. If you're worried about some other things, like go by how you feel. I think a lot of people are surprised by how good they feel. Like aches and pains, like when you get out of the bed in the morning and like your knee hurts, you get used to that. I think a lot of people are used to these little wonky things they have going on. And once you shift your diet, like things change. And that is life changing. So just give it a shot, make some changes, ease into it. You don't have to do cold turkey, pun intended. You can ease into it, slowly remove some processed food and seed oils and sugar, and just see how you feel. Just start bringing in more protein and healthy fats and see how that goes.
Yeah, and you don't have to eat munch on butter all day long. You can, but you don't have to like, you can find your own way and your own path to this. Yeah, I think that's good advice for people who are wanting to see just to do a 30-day. I say 90-day, you a few months. Would you say 90 days is really
Yeah, I
where
think 30 days is great. And hopefully the 30 days motivates you to keep going because something magical happens after 90 days. I don't even know what. I remember saying that like when I was going through it, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like the 90 days is even like better." So 100% do it for 90 days if you can. And then throw in the towel and go back to eating all the crap that you ate before if that's what you really want to do. But I feel,
Mhm.
you'll feel pretty good and want to stick with it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree with all of that. Is there anything else that you feel like nourishes your body, mind, soul at this part of your life
Besides food or food?
besides food?
Um, you know, I really try and focus, like, on the inner work stuff,
Yeah.
and, again, I haven't been prioritizing that, but I feel better when I do. So I love, like, a good brain dump just in the morning, like, writing everything that comes to mind on paper, just get it out there, and not in an organized thing, not even a to-do list, just dump it out, all the thoughts, all your anxieties, whatever. Like, I love that. Meditation, what's this one song? I think it's either called Time or Inception, and it's from the movie that's either Time or Inception. So I'm getting the title, but it's like a good, like visualization meditation song. Um, and yeah, and just like focusing on your breath and doing like my friend has me do like this full body scan when you're feeling like a little triggered. I mean, just I'm so all about the inner work and kind of a little woo woo on that. And I need to get back to it. And I've been saying that for a few months and I just haven't been prioritizing it. And I can tell a difference. Like
Yeah.
I can tell a difference with how I'm feeling mentally when I'm doing that or not.
Yeah, I think all of those things, and I feel like all those things work better, obviously, when we have less inflammation, but I think a lot of people are like, "Well, I'm doing the meditation, I'm going to therapy, I'm not," and if you still don't feel right, that's I had that experience. I did not know how good I could feel until I started on this journey, and the carnivore was my first step. So, well, I mean, I'd done all the things before that. And the carnivore is what really being on a carnivore diet shifted everything. It really is quite amazing. So I think if it's not for people, like don't do it if you don't want to do it. But don't let people scare you into thinking that meat is somehow bad for you. I'm so sick of hearing that red meat is bad for us or that bacon is unhealthy. I'm like, you eat the bacon with the donut, it's going to be that you cannot do, but the bacon is not the problem. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, how are we all feeling so amazing eating this way if it wasn't healthy? Like, there's just no way that makes sense.
Yeah, no way that that makes sense. And I'm grateful to people like Sean Baker and others that are actually putting some research, like doing some clinical trials so that we can get people to calm down about the fiber. But you need fiber.
Obviously not. I've pooped every day for the last 2 years and I haven't had fiber, so I'm good, thank you.
I know that everybody thinks that you have to have fiber. I'm like, I don't know that our microbiome, I mean, I still think it's an interesting question of like, we don't actually we can't utilize the fiber, but our those microbes in us do, right? So, do we need it or not? I think that's an interesting question to say how long and whatever. But obviously, we have people who have been carnivore for decades now with zero fiber. So, let's come on, let's at least acknowledge that it's not as important as everybody thinks it is.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, we can go to the bathroom without it, so whether you wanna argue about the whole, like, gut bacteria and all that,
Mhm.
who knows really? I don't know. I haven't dug into it much. All I know is I'm
We
not
don't know.
constipated, so
Right, and we don't really know, and that's the thing. I think people get on an opinion and just hang on there. Is there anything else you wanted to share? Make sure people know?
Um, if anyone wants to grab my book, my cookbook, that would
Yeah,
be amazing.
yeah.
It's available for pre-sale right now, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I always add an S to the end of that. Barnes and Noble. Target, Walmart. It's called Carnivore in the Kitchen. It comes out October 1st, and there are some basic meat recipes in there, but it's mainly also for those that are a little bit bored with their burger patties and steaks and they want something a little bit more creative to keep this way of eating sustainable. And it's also more than just recipes. There's like Carnivore 101 and animal based kids and our approach we take to feeding our kids, and a little info like on macros and the different types of animal based plans, if you will. So yeah, it's a great little book if I do say
I
so myself.
yeah, I'm so excited. I'm excited for you to have it. I think it's such a great resource for people. So, and I think you're very gracious to continue to put more information out there and show people what you're eating and how to cook things. So, thank you for doing that. And thank you for coming on the show. It's always delightful to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Nice to talk to you too.
Yeah.